Term, Grace. BD0736 from January 8, 1939, taken from book number 15. Worlds will pass away and the suns will lose their light, but God's grace will descend upon His creatures eternally and unchangeably. For what has emerged from Him also takes the course of perfection, and without divine grace the path can never be traveled. Therefore, everything is arranged so infinitely wisely that the being is seized by the flow of divine grace, if only the being itself does not rebelliously distance itself from the flow of grace. He who lives in grace will be able to cover the path of perfection without effort, but he who rejects it will have to overcome obstacles upon obstacles. His soul will not find the strength to liberate itself and the spirit will slumber powerlessly within it, unawakened for self-development, because without divine grace the work of liberation is too difficult for the beings. If, therefore, God's grace is the basic condition for redemption, i.e. it is indispensably necessary, then it is also understandable how much the deity's activity aims to explain the concept of grace to the beings in detail, for the beings striving for perfection are to a certain extent offered unlimited possibilities in order to reach their goal. The eternal deity, in its infinite love and wisdom, has very well considered the extremely difficult struggle it has to endure. Yet this struggle cannot be avoided if a development towards a godlike being is to take place, which is to be as perfect in everything as the Father in heaven Himself is perfect. A struggle of one's own strength to reach this state of perfection would not be very successful given the counter-influence of the evil power, for the latter is stronger and the being would not be able to offer sufficient resistance. And thus God stands by those who profess Him, who consciously or unconsciously harbor the desire for union with God in every way. The help to ascend to God. This is what everything that is made accessible to people under the term, grace, should be called. Man does not grasp the meaning of the word in its full depth. Everywhere and at all times God's help comes to meet the being and only wants to be grasped. A heartfelt prayer for God's help allows it to be granted to him in all fullness, and therefore the human being can devote himself to his soul's work with complete confidence, for if he is faithful and turns to the Father in heaven for help he will be so full of grace that supreme success is assured to him. Standing in the divine Sun of Grace, he will easily circumnavigate the most dangerous cliffs and effortlessly cover the most arduous paths. His soul will feel the loosening of the shackles, the spirit will become lively and break through the shell and finally unite with the spirit of love from God. And all this only through the divine grace which every being can ask for, which can never be distributed by God in a limited way but can be received unmeasured by anyone who only desires it. The divine Creator demands a great deal of higher development from His creatures, but at the same time He gives them the instructions and means to fulfill the Creator's wish. Thus, again, the work itself is not difficult if only the will strives for the same, for the Lord does not command the will of the being. It is entirely up to the being itself to shape it, yet even then prayer for God's grace can grant powerful help. For God's love is active wherever a being turns to Him and distributes unlimited blessings so that the imperfect being will always and forever know of a lifeline which it can seize in adversity and danger, and a requesting being longing for divine grace will never be left without help. The 8th of January 1939 and countless beings will feel God's grace in themselves as long as they are willing to receive it. Living faith and active love let rivers of God's favor flow to them. God will always helpfully approach the being in order to facilitate its path upwards, to protect it from the power of evil and to ensure its union with the eternal Spirit of love. For truly I say to you, says the Lord, your suffering on earth will be little if only you make use of my grace. You will be able to reach the highest height and enter into direct contact with me, and your soul will float in the light. Amen.